Good morning and welcome to my live stream. Today's show is Fight CPS with your host Bob Pace. And hang on to your children. You know, the word CPS means a lot of different things to a lot of people. But what it is, and what I call it the Child Protection System. It's a government entity that was created in 1962 by Social Services. It was mandated by Congress that social services create a group of individuals and an agency within agency to protect our kids from neglect and abuse that's been going rampant for over 400 years. The history of CPS is divided into three parts by the child protection system. First part is from the early 1600s, back when we were in early development of the United States. That first period went from them to 1875. So from 1600 to 1875. That's 275 years. And there were a couple cases during that time. Then from 1875, when they were a mass settlement of the Native American Indians, who were the first immigrants to the North America, to what now is called the United States. They're placed on reservations because the people in control with superior weapons and technology were mass killing these indigenous individuals who were there first, who were trying to make a way of life, a simple life, living off the land. But to most Europeans, they look like savages. Anyway, they were put on reservations, and the children were shipped off to the private schools for Indian children. There they were further abused. Their hair was cut. Their clothing were no longer allowed to wear the clothing of their people, no longer the practice their people ways or eat like what they did. Plus, they never got to go back to their families. They were taken away. So from 1875 to 1962 is the second period of CPS. And the American Indian children continued to be abused until 1978, when the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, was enacted, which said that any Indian children, if they encountered a problem with neglect or abuse, CPS would turn them over to the Indian tribe for the reservation and take care of them if they were a member of a federal recognized Indian tribe. Now, there's 548 federal recognized Indian tribes. Now, this period from 1962 to today is the third period of CPS. In the second period, there was some attempts made by societies that had a lot of money that would take care of the children. There was a lot of abuse, the sweatshops of the 1920s and 30s. Child labor was really rampant, where children made to work long hours and terrible conditions. But today we're faced with the fact that we have rogue individuals out there, rogue CPS, child protection systems, that are making $1 trillion business off having our kids trafficking into foster care, kidnapped into foster care, alienating the kids from the parents. Those are all illegal practices. It's important that we have our children protected from neglect and abuse. And if parents have a hiccup, their behavior can be corrected. So it's important to try to do family reunification because the best parents to raise our children are the biological parents. Studies have shown time and time again. Now, my show is very informative, and I do try to help you because I too was a victim of CPS. And there's been over 1,500 people that have texted or talked on my show. Not only from every state in the United States, including the District of Columbia, from 22 countries, such as Bangladesh or Saudi Arabia, or one of the newest countries in Africa, Republic of Congo, Europe, North America, South America, the Pacific, New Zealand, and Australia. Those are some of the 22 countries that have either talked or text on here about their woes with CPS. Now, I know that CPS is an awful, awful feeling to be involved in. It's scary. I did not really know too much when I got it, and it happens. Everybody has something in common. They usually are down and out, low income. Maybe there's some problems with setting. Because what I'm afraid to tell you is that in order for you to get out of this mess, you need to get a professional attorney, somebody that is trained in juvenile law, family law, and has fought CPS for years and not afraid to fight them. I have such an attorney. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He's been fighting CPS for 39 years. He's a trial attorney. He is also a pit bull of attorney. He'll fight for your case. He also does civil lawsuits. When your case is over, he'll help you with a civil lawsuit where the social worker may have committed perjury in my CPS workers is they lie. They cheat, they're not transparent, and they don't believe in family reunification. And that was instilled by President Bill Clinton when he signed the law of 1994, the Incentive Act, where it said that CPS entities would be given additional money if they had them adopt in foster care as opposed to family reunification. Family reunification is too long of a process. One of the classes that a lot of the people have to take is called domestic violence, and that's a 52-week class. So you got at least a year. My case, it was 3 years it took for me to get my children back. And Vincent Davis was the attorney for that. He knows his business well, and he'll fight for you whether you're in Northern California or Southern California or even some other state like Pennsylvania, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma. He knows his profession quite well. I've known him now for 10 years. I've been fighting CPS for 15 years, not as long as Vincent W. Davis has. He has 39 years. But I started being harassed by CPS week after week, year after year. What had happened is that there's two ways that CPS gets information about child abuse or neglect. It's either from the mandated reporters, which are professional people like your firemen, your school teachers, your policemen, your principal, your counselor, the caregivers, you know, anybody that works with children. Takes the class, learns about the warning signs of abuse, neglect, and now how to report it. They're required by law. A doctor is required by law to report abuse or neglect of a child. That's how it first started, actually. The doctors were starting to notice in the early 60s, and that's why Congress passed a law to have a government entity within social services watchdog our children. And I really am here to help you all with your case. Now, the other kind of reporter are the lay reporters, lay people. Lay people are like family members, acquaintances, your friends. Those are lay. A spouse, or maybe they don't like the neighbor's dog barking, or the yard is overgrowing your yard, or where the case may be. They'll fabricate a story that isn't true. But CPS investigates all stories and believes that all stories are true. In fact, you're guilty as soon as someone cries wolf. You are guilty. It's the only agency that I know of, legal agency, that you're guilty before you're proven innocent. Every other court of law, you're innocent till you're proven guilty. But in CPS, you're guilty. So within 24 hours, they have to investigate a report of suspected child abuse or neglect. And a lot of them lately are railroading it through where they come out and right away they want in your home, they want to look at your home. They'll bring out the police as intimidators. Police are supposed to protect the social workers, not be intimidators. So the police are duped by the CPS. And they think they come in your home and talk to you, and then they say, we got to take your child. They're in extreme danger. Even though the children were, my case, they were in school. I had 3 younger ones, and I have 3 older ones. Luckily, the 3 older ones are grown up and have families of their own and leading very productive lives. That's 6 children I've helped to raise, so I have experience with that. I also have 42 years of marriage experience. I'm a loving father and a husband, and I care about my family so much. And I'm on here to help you all about an agency that has gone bad or has gone rogue. Not all of it is, but enough said that over 1,500 live or what state or country they're from. The only common thing I've come across is their low income. They can't afford a $500 an hour attorney or pay a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 retainer. But CPS says, oh, that's no problem. We got an attorney for you. We got what's called a court-appointed attorney, a public defender. These are attorneys starting out in their profession as lawyers. They only have a background in criminal law. They don't have a background in juvenile law, family law, or dependency law. Dependency law is what CPS uses to fight in. They have a courtroom where the judge is supposed to act like a referee, but he is a lot of times biased and works for CPS, as well as the plaintiff attorneys And then if you use what's called the court-appointed attorney, this magical man or woman is going to protect you, they're not. They work for CPS, they're paid by CPS, and they're not trained or schooled, and they're lazy. Also, they have 30 or more clients, so they're really loaded down. So they have no time to meet with you quiet room. You're lucky if you see them at the courthouse. And they're going to do the simplest way to get the job done. They're not interested in helping you or fighting for your rights. And I know that's kind of scary, but all you have to do is think about open heart surgery. Would you have a plumber open up your chest cavity and work on your heart? Or how about a dishwasher? Those are all notable professions, but they're not the background. Need a licensed, qualified doctor. Well, dealing with CPS, you need a licensed, qualified attorney, someone that has a strong background in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Again, I want to give a warm welcome, recognize Tony the Tiger. I haven't talked to you in a while, Tony the Tiger, but glad you dropped in. Also, Daniel Watt, I'm glad to see you too. She's been stopping in a lot lately. So let's see what Tony the Tiger has had to say. Good afternoon. Well, Tony, it's still morning time here on the west coast of California, but maybe it's afternoon time where you're at. So I talked with Vince a few days ago and took his advice took his advice and talked to my lawyer, and she decided to take herself off my case after our conversation. The next thing, I have a CPS knocking at my door. Now, that does sound good, Tony. So I talked with Vince a few days ago and took his advice and talked to my lawyer, and she decided to take herself off my case after our conversation. And the next thing I have is CPS knocking at my door. Well, hopefully he didn't answer the door. I'm okay, Daniel Watt. Hanging in there. Tony says, I told her hi, asked her to do what Vince told me to do, file motion and transcripts from this court hearing, because I have only been in court once and my due justice was violated. I asked her 3 times to do that. I don't know who you said hi to. Is it the CPS workers? I don't think Vince would tell you to talk to a CPS worker without your attorney present. Something about this, she had not, is asking to be relieved of my case. Can I still do something about my due justice violation? Well, you need to explain to me, Tony, what you mean by due justice violation. What justice was violated? A little bit more specific. That's what you're going through. All right. I know you're from Osage County in New York. And you've been on my show off and on for quite some time. New York is completely rogue. They traffic jugs and people, women and children out of here used in schools and drug programs to separate who to do what to. Well, that sounds terrible, Tony. Is the glitching on your end or mine? I feel my phone being hacked the more I fight these people. I don't notice any glitching. You're not talking to me. Are you hearing me okay? Are you hearing me okay? Let me double check here. I think it's okay. I'm concerned there. I don't think anybody's hacking my show, but um, let me see. I understand how crazy some of the things I say sound, but I promise on my children, I'm not crazy and what I say is true. I'm not saying you're crazy, Tony the Tiger. From Oneka, New York. A glitch in my phone. It's okay. It's all right. I could call in if it would be okay and easier to talk because it's hard to text everything, my phone acting up. Yes, I would love for you to call in. Let me put my number up so that you can see it. There's my number right now, 626 698 0990. That way you can call in, Tony. That would be great. Hi, Margaret. Good morning and welcome to my live stream. Margaret's one of my family members along with Tony. These people have been calling and talking about it, but Tony's case has turned really bad. I need to know more, Tony, of what is going on. If you talk to Vince, he usually gives good advice. I don't think he would steer you wrong. If you're using a court-appointed attorney and you told her to straighten out things and do things right, then that is good. That is good. Now, I was talking about the steps that CPS take when they investigate you. And my rule number 3 is that you never want to answer your door because you never know who's out there. I know of people being killed by answering the door. There was a Air Force black man that answered the door. He's only 25. He was talking to his fiance on FaceTime, and the sheriff from Gainesville, Florida, shot 5 times to his chest, and he died while talking to his fiance on the phone. That's true. Look it up. It happened on May 3rd in Gainesville, Florida. Yes, they're prosecuting. The sheriff lost his job and he's being a civil lawsuit, but it should be more that he murdered somebody. He should be arraigned for murder. If you're going to wear a firearm, you're going to learn how to use a firearm. And you have to learn something called self-control. Also, you need to know how to shoot and maybe disable somebody, but not kill them. 5 shots at close range to the chest is going to kill that person. And that's what the sheriff did. So answering the door was a mistake that the black airman did. But his mother is devastated. She's in Alabama, and this has been happening too many times of people being shot. There are good policemen and bad policemen. It just so happened he had a bad policeman. Now, Tony says the more we talk about this whole system out there is so messed up, I feel I'm targeted because I know too much. So that's why I thank God for people like you and Vince. It helps me not feel so crazy, but so scared. I know what it is. We have government right now, and we have a new entity. And this may be my caller from New York here. Hold on.
we missed your call. We are either on the phone.
Well, I don't think that was Tony the Tiger. Hopefully that was you calling, Tony. You can try again. My number, Tony, is 626-698-0990. Anyway, answering the door, the matter can wait. You know, we have email, we have regular mail, and we have a phone. If people want, they can use the phone, they can send you an email, they can, they can text you too. That's the fourth way. They can text you or send something in the mail. But CPS doesn't work that way. CPS is tricky. They think most people will open the door. Now, there's only three ways that CPS can get in your home, police. One, you give them permission, or someone in your home gives them permission to enter. And when you do that, they think it's carte blanche, that they can search your home and take your children. A second way is if danger is ensuing, meaning that a child's being beat up or hurt, and you hear the ruckus going on. So if you're not going to answer the door, don't make a sound. Keep quiet. Then the third way is what's called a warrant. Now, a warrant, they can slip underneath the front door in some homes. But the best thing to do is to hide out somewhere in the closet or in another room with the door shut. But eventually they'll go away. They'll leave a card at the door or some note or some paperwork. All right, go ahead and call me, Tony. It shouldn't be busy. I'm not on the phone. Hi, this is Bob Pace with the law offices of Vincent W. Davis, and you've reached my live stream. How can I help you?
Hi, it's Tony the Tiger.
Oh, hi there, Tony. I don't understand why it was so hard to come in, but I'm glad that you did. So it sounds like your case has got worse since you talked to Vincent.
Yeah, actually, I could read the whole message to her. I was really upset because he told me about motions to file and stuff, and when I told her about that, she just, got upset. I told her that I was going to go to the Bar Association and file a lawsuit if she didn't help me, win my case, but, she took it as me saying that if she didn't win my case, that I was going to go file a complaint and sue her. And I was like, no, that's not it. But if I don't get the time and attention that I should get, because you're my lawyers will be fighting for me, then I'm going to do that. Because I told her I have a lawyer that I talked to for advice, and when he tells me that you can do something and and I ask you to do it, and you tell me you can't or you don't do it, then that's a problem. And so she said, she said, I will file a motion to be released from your case. I think it's better that way. And then I asked her about getting the transcripts from my court case, and she said, I'll let the new attorney request those. I'll file a motion for your new attorney today. And that was just the other day. And then this morning is when I had CPS at my door.
Now, when you said CPS came to your door, why did you talk to them?
I did not.
Oh.
I had a knock at my door, and I saw that it was them, and they left a note outside my door. I didn't touch the note, nothing, and I didn't even answer the door because you told me that legally I don't have to.
Right. So what did the note say?
I have no idea. I didn't get the note.
What do you mean you didn't get the note?
You go grab it.
I'm sorry, what?
I'm going to have, my friend's going to go grab the note right now. I didn't open the door, nothing.
How long ago was this? How long ago was this, Tony?
Well, it's a quarter to 2 years, so it was about 2 hours ago.
Okay. So why did they pick today to come out to talk to you?
Maybe because I told my lawyer about herself. Because
have they already been out once before?
It's weird timing. Like this, I don't know. This whole town system is so messed up. Here's the letter. It says, please call Siegel County DSS, and they gave me this number. Ask for Emily or Anna. Thank you.
Okay. And what you need to do is go to the courthouse and speak to the public defender's office and get yourself an attorney and have that attorney call them.
Well, what I'm doing, I'm working on finding a juvenile dependency lawyer.
Okay, with a background in family law, right.
Yeah, because you said that was better. Because I also told her, she had said, ethically, I can't guarantee results, so if you're threatening to report and sue me, if I don't win your case, I'll have to ask court to give you an attorney. I said to her, that's not what I'm saying at all, but I've been in and out of court with these people to the point where I really could consider it harassment. I'm working on getting all the proof, but every lawyer I've gotten has been rude, unhelpful, and didn't care that, and just threw my disability in my face. My daughters were never fought to be taken from me. I have 3 kids, and I'm tired of being harassed by CPS. I'm not being allowed the rights of every other person to raise my child. These people have messed up my life so bad, like my son's behavior, because they put it in my court papers that his physical, mental, emotional condition has been impaired or is in imminent danger of becoming impaired as a result of the failure of a parent or person legally responsible to exercise minimum degree of care. And that's what they had put on my report, but that's what they're doing to me. And I said, I have done everything for my kids. I breathe for my kids. Otherwise, I wouldn't care to be in this world. They've caused him all this impairment, and because they won't let us live, they won't let us have a fair chance at life because he's my last child. I know how this works, especially in this town, the county, is statistics and politics. I will not be a statistic. We're supposed to help each other change, not just be a number. My girls never made it in the system because I did everything for them. Just because I was in the system doesn't mean one or all of my kids need to. I know there's a special program out there, the government investigating CPS, because why would the president think that they need to be investigated if they were good people? And I said, I wrote a letter to him, so maybe that helps. But if my lawyer can't help me in court, I'm just going to have to keep going higher up. I'm not threatening you. I'm just telling you I'm not stupid. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying to lose, I'm going to sue you and report you. No. But if you don't give me the proper attention, communication, and help and try to win this case, then why wouldn't I? I'm done letting people take advantage of me and take from me.
Okay. When your first contact, where are your children right now at the moment? Where are your 3 children?
School.
Well, okay, they're at school, but you still have custody of them.
Yes, I just got custody of my son back because I talked with him to my last case. I went through 3 lawyers in that case too, and CPS actually blackmailed me in court. They told me I had 3 choices. Like, they wouldn't let me see my son for months, like 6 months. I finally got a visit with him, and it was only going to be 2 hours a month, like 1 hour every 2 weeks. I was going to be allowed to see him. The first visit I got after 6 months of not being able to visit with him, they brought a worker there, and she wouldn't let us go outside. It was snow. Like, we just sat at a table. I picked up a phone. My son was already playing with one of my phones, and I was trying to take Snapchat pictures with him. And when I went to do it, she's like, visit is over. Like 10, 15 minutes of my visit, we had the cops there. Like, it was a whole crazy ordeal. And they tried to say, they put me in, I had a court appointment that day too, and it was about visitation. And magically, my visit was right before there. The week before I was supposed to have my visit, not this week that we had it, but they made it to be the day of court. They ended up taking me to the hospital. They said that I threatened to cut this, the supervisor, the person supervising the visit, I threatened to cut her throat. And so I see that as being homicidal. They put me in the hospital ER for suicide attempt. And then they released me when court was over. And then we went to court. This was like in January 19th of 2020, I believe. Then in March, we had our court appearance, and that's when CPS blackmailed me, and they said that I could either admit to doing something I didn't do, and they would put me through drug court, and then if drug court referred me to inpatient psychiatric care, I would have to go or I'd go to jail. My second choice was deny that and go to jail for 6 months. And my third option was sign off my rights to my son.
Now, wait a second. How can they tell you to go to jail? CPS has no authority over criminal matters. Only the police and only criminal judge. Family court judge can't do that, go to jail.
Well, they threatened me right there, and I was rude and stuff, and I told them they basically go stuff. You know, I said something rude, but I basically said, you know, not on my life. Like, my kid, he's my kid.
Well, then you have to tell them what crime are you being tried? Because if it's a criminal matter, there's a jury trial, and your peers the ones that make determination. Yeah.
My visit, the first visit I got after 6 months, I supposedly threatened to cut this woman's throat. This woman supervising the visit, but.
So you were charged with a crime. You were charged with attempted murder. Is that your criminal charge?
I wasn't charged nothing.
Well, then how can they? It's frustrating for me because I cannot believe that a court is that stupid, or those people are that stupid that they're just doing stupid things like that. Because the law is very well defined. The law is defined. CPS is a government entity controlled by social services. It was formed by social services, but it has to answer. And they don't do criminal charges like murder or, theft or auto theft or all those criminal charges. Those are done by a prosecution attorney, the DA of that particular area. What happens is that a policeman.
That's not even the craziest thing. The craziest thing was my visit was in January, and my court appearance was in March. So all this happened, like where I supposedly threatened this woman, happened January 19th. Our court date was like March 23rd, I believe. When I told them no, I wasn't agreeing to any of their terms, that's when that worker, the supervisor of the visit, he filed charges in the town in March, asked for a restraining order, and all of that in the town court. Like, all my charges got dropped. The judge dropped it because it didn't make sense. Why would you wait 2 months to file for an order of protection and try to press charges on me? And then, after that, that's when I filed my lawyer, who was a jerk in court. He told me, he said, why do you get a check every month? And I said, because I can't be around people a lot. Like, I can maybe go out today, but, like, for the next 2 days I stay in, like, I have my own mental issues, and it's because of people like this. And he said, well, maybe it's good that you don't have your son. And they had taken my son at this point, like, for crazy stuff that they didn't, like, when I went to the appellate court, my lawyer up there, she had said something to my lawyers, like, she had all this proof, why didn't you submit it? Because the first thing was, they took my son based on educational neglect. My son didn't go to school because the teacher abused him. The teacher assaulted my son. Nobody would do anything. I went to CPS. I went to the superintendent. I went to the principal. I went to the cops. I have it documented on paper that it was assault by a doctor. Nobody in this town would do anything for me for my son. And he had bruises. I had pictures. I had everything.
Okay. Tony, hold on for 1 second here. I have two people that have come into my room and I need to greet them. Hello, NYP. That is Nisha, and she's from California City, California. It's good to see you, and thank you for coming to my room. Now, Makoa Rose. I think it's called Makea Rose. She says she has a question. My question, Makea, is what part of the world are you from? You got your name, and what is your question? I'll try to answer it when I get a moment here. Right now, I'm talking to Tony the Tiger from New York, a place called, I probably pronounced it wrong, Ostenega?
It's
Estego. Yeah, Estego, New York. And she has a horrible case where from talking to her, it sounds like the Child Protection Agency can also do criminal charges, which is hard to believe because they haven't done it before in any other state, any other country. There's a separation. The Child Protection Service is supposed to deal with matters pertaining to abuse or neglect of children. They're not supposed to be making charges for attempted murder, such as she says that the social worker said her throat was going to be cut by Tony the Tiger. And so it's very unusual that they have that power. And so what I'm trying to do is understand all this. Hello, Callum Cook. Sorry, I joined late. What's her name and state and city she's in? This is called Tony the Tiger. That's her YouTube name. What is your first name, by the way?
It's Cassandra.
Okay, it's Cassandra. And she goes by a YouTube name, Tony the Tiger. And she's from Ostego, New York. Ostego, New York. And so she's from there in New York there. Where are you from, Callis Cook? I need to know what part of the world you're from. And the same thing with Makea Rose. Now, I know New York, NYP is from California City, California, because Alicia has been on the show. That's her real name. So anyway, we're trying to help out Cassandra here, who's Tony the Tiger, with her case. Now, all this is happening in the last couple of years. What is the status of your children? Do you have full custody of your children?
I got custody back because the moment that my case got accepted in the appellate court, CPS dropped everything like it never happened and didn't tell anybody. And we didn't know about this until months later. And that's when we went to court, and the judge said he had no problem with me getting my son back. He was just worried about my living condition. And that's when I ended up in this building that I'm living in, which there's a lot off about this too. Like it's rigged by DSS too. Like,
do you have assisted housing? Do you have assisted housing?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so you're a low income parent. Now, is the biological father involved with the child?
No, but that's the other thing about my court case now. Everything they have on me for neglect charges is based on my domestic violence with him in the past, which was 10 years or more ago, and that's where Vince told me to file a motion to fight that so that they couldn't use it. And then the other part of the neglect charges is from the hospital because they tried to, I said they were trafficking him because he had all the signs of trafficking at the hospital. And I felt like CPS was going to try and traffic the children out here through mental health problems. So they kept my son in there. He was being abused by security guards, by the hospital staff, and nobody was doing anything about it. I reported the hospital to the health department. I reported them to the national CPS hotline. And right after that, that's when they brought CPS in. And I didn't know CPS was even involved, period, until after I finally got my son released because I went to a mental hygiene lawyer who got my son out. Like, she threatened to take him to court. And then she had to threaten them with the hospital, with Supreme Court. And that's when the hospital said, okay, your son is fine to go home. He's safe. He can go home now. After they were threatened with Supreme Court. But CPS is now trying to say neglect because I took him out of the hospital. That I shouldn't have took him out of the hospital. I just put him in a system. And then one of their stipulations on the court papers too is if my doctor thinks I should go to a psychiatric hospital inpatient care, then I should go. Like, they're trying to have me and my son both admitted, which is like, why are you targeting and so hard about getting us put locked away in a hospital?
Wow. What is your next court date?
July 9th.
And what's the purpose of that court date?
It's the trial to bring up like all the evidence and stuff. But the last court date, I didn't even get to attend. It was attorneys only. And yet, funny thing is my attorney is a CPS lawyer, and there was CPS in there with the judge who's like, they're all friends. They all went to school together.
Right. That's typical of dependency court, where they go to lunch or they play golf together. They're friendly. And so unless you get a real attorney like Vincent Davis, you're going to be helpless.
So that's why I consult with him.
Fight with. I understand that. And as you know, he's a good attorney, but it's very phenomenally expensive to have him come out to you in New York.
Right.
He would do it.
He should get all of his money back. Like, I have a civil lawsuit. I know I do. Like, everything he was talking about in his last live episode, like, I have that. They, like, it's harassment. Like, they're violating my rights.
Yeah,
my due process was violated.
Yeah.
They couldn't find me to serve me the papers for the court date. But, like, it was only weeks before that, before they came to, like, supposedly trying to serve me the papers, it was only weeks before that I had a CPS report made, and CPS was here. That night the report was made, but you couldn't find me. But in the same sentence as them saying they couldn't find me, they said I was in a locked building where they couldn't get in without a key. Ring the bell. And they found me the day they came an hour after court. They found me an hour after court with 3 state troopers to serve me papers for the court date that I just missed.
Wow.
You couldn't find me until court was over. And this is what they did when they supposedly said that I threatened that woman. If I threatened her and she was so scared, why did she take 2 months to file charges?
Another question. Do you have family members that can support you?
No, all my family teamed up against me with this. My brother, I'm pretty sure my youngest brother was in the process of losing his kids. So, yeah, it's really crazy.
Sorry to hear
when they
that.
first took my son for educational neglect, my brother had taken my son the night before, and this worker, I don't know what she was on, but she was at the door, and she called to my brother and said, how long have you had your sister's son? And he said, like 2 or 3 weeks. I said, you just got him last night. Like, that's the kind of craziness I'm dealing with. My parents, everybody did this. So I don't even talk to them anymore. Like, my dad used to put my son, like, I wasn't supposed to be seeing my son, period. My dad used to call me, like, answer their Facebook Messenger and let me talk to my son. But he was, like, monitored on what he was saying to me and stuff. And once he had black and blue on his faces and his arms and stuff, I took a screenshot of these, of the bruises and stuff. And when we went to our next court date, I said something in front of the judge, Lambert, and I said, my son is being abused. And the judge says to me, he said, wait, how are you talking to him? Why were you talking to your kid? Like, I think the first thing you should address would have been, why is my son being abused? Where's this proof that he's being abused? Like, I had pictures. No, all he cared about was the fact that I had been talking to my son. They were trying to isolate him from me.
Now, wait a minute. Didn't you have visitation rights with your son?
No, I had, like, they prolonged court cases, everything. It took 6 months before I got to see him. And the first time I got to see him, it was 15 minutes, and then the state troopers were there abusing us. And the sheriff and the workers I was supervising held my son in place while the 2 state troopers were putting their hands on me.
Yeah, excessive force.
And I had the footage, like the body cams and everything. Like, it was crazy. against them. I know I like this. The whole situation is set up, and I know they're getting mad because I'm learning so much more because of you guys. Like, I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's scary.
I try to call you from my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and it just goes to busy signal.
Really?
My friend, I think, is not believed, so I have to get his phone back. Yeah, like, I could try to call you right now, and it won't ring.
I don't think my number is being blocked, but I can certainly ask my office if it is. So, because I do make calls all the time using this program. I use Vonage, which is an internet-based program.
My phone is really low too, but
no, it's fine. I don't want to lose our connection. I don't want to lose our connection.
Okay. No, I'm on my friend's phone. Like they're getting ready to leave, but like when I call you off of my phone, it just keeps going to a busy dial tone. It's really weird.
I have a question from Cook, who's from North Carolina. It's Dorothy Cook. She's using a Facebook account called Cal Exum Cook, and she has a question. Can complaints be filed against a judge after the judge retires for violations made while the judge was an active judge? Yes, you can file a lawsuit against the judge. You can do a lot of things against the judge. You go to the state capital in North Carolina, which is Raleigh, and you go to the northcarolina.gov, and you look up in the help index of how to file a complaint against a judge, and you can file a case against a judge. Judges and lawyers are not protected as much as people think they should be, but they're not. And if someone does something wrong, you can always file a civil lawsuit. A civil lawsuit is something that, maybe the criminal charges can't go through with it, but the civil lawsuit, all I have to do is tell you about O.J. Simpson. They thought he murdered Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman, but that he was found free because the glove didn't fit. But anyway, they did a civil lawsuit, and they won the civil lawsuit against OJ. So anytime people tell you you can't sue them, that's not true. You can sue a judge, you can sue a lawyer, you can sue the CPS worker. They can be sued. It is a very expensive proposition. In order for me to sue the social worker, I'd have to come up with $50,000, which after spending $150,000 to get my boys back, I didn't have any more money. I'd already sold my home and lost my home after working for 45 years. So I know for a fact that you can sue. There's nothing wrong stopping someone from doing a civil lawsuit, especially if it violates your constitutional or civil rights. You're entitled to your civil rights and your constitutional rights. Tony, you still there? Or Cassandra?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Yeah. We just have Justice come in. He's from LA, Los Angeles, California. And he has Vincent Davis working for him. And he's trying to get his child returned. The civil lawsuit, right now, a retainer starts at $50,000 in LA County. If you just have a regular CPS case, it's a $5,000 retainer in LA County. Further out you go, the more expensive, because you got airfare, you got ground transportation, you got hotel, and you got food. So with those four things, it adds on to your retainer. So you have your legal fees plus the four other fees there. But in my case, it's local, but I'd have to come up with $50,000 to file a lawsuit against a social worker that committed perjury on the stand when she was testifying under oath. And I had a solid case. But it does take money. It does take money. Yes, $50,000 retainer for a civil lawsuit. That is in LA County, Justice. LA County, Los Angeles County, California. But in some other place, it may be more because you got to add on the airfare, the accommodations, the food, and the transportation. Now we have about 4 more minutes or 3 more minutes, Cassandra. Is there any other question you have, Cassandra?
No, I'm just so curious about what like I can do about the due justice, because every time I bring it up to her, she like avoids me. And that was the other thing too. She told me when I called her on the phone to talk about it, she like said she was in a meeting. Yeah, every time I texted her, she responded right back.
Are you documenting everything?
I am. I have everything written down, dates and times when I call and when all this happens. And I've been doing it since my son got taken to the hospital. And the cops there, they had like 20 different cops when he went in for supposed suicide. He was having a behavior problem because he has ADHD and stuff. But when he went in, I documented everything. They wouldn't give me the badge numbers. They said only 3 of us had interaction with him. And I got 4 badge numbers. And none of the other cops that were in there would give me their information. So I took down every plate number and every car number. I went to the Attorney General and I wrote to the President about it, because why do you need that many cops in there? And why would this nurse sit there and tell me I can't go back and see my son right after he's brought in? And then I said something about, filing a report on her and complaining. And she said, well, if you're going to be threatening, and then she was just trying to have me removed. And then they tried to isolate him from me, saying that I couldn't come in there and see it because I was the reason for his outburst, when a nurse had gone back and wouldn't let me see a social worker. She went and got a security guard instead, who came aggressively at my son. So I got upset and I left, but my son got upset because there was a security guard coming after me when my son was being protected.
Okay.
And they're medicating him in there when they're not allowed to.
Okay. Cassandra, it's time for me to close down the show because its time is up here. But I want to thank everybody for texting and calling in. Thank you, Cassandra, for sharing your story. Keep fighting at that. Thank you, Justin from Los Angeles, California. Thank you, Calix Cook, who's Dorothy Cook from North Carolina, for texting in. Also, I have Micaiah Rose, who I have no idea where she's from, but thank you for wanting to answer a question. You can do it again tomorrow if you like. Thank you, NYP, for calling in. That's Nisha from California City, California. And then Margaret King from the Kern County area of California. Thank you very much for calling in. Let me see who else did I have in here. We just had Tony the Tiger from Oswego, New York. Anyway, thank you all. I'll be on tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I love to talk to you about your case. So, God bless you and keep fighting to get your children back. This is Bob Pace signing off.